In a world where interconnectedness is the main force of growth, isolation as a counterpart is establishing itself more than ever. And the result is loneliness. The feeling of being around a group of people and still feeling nothing but numbness inside your body. Watching your friends' Instagram stories or maybe strangers on TikTok having the time of their life while you lay in bed with a bag of chips next to you, questioning your whole existence. It feels like a wound that never really seems to heal. Despite how many connections you superficially might have in life, they never fulfill the hollow place inside. Looking back at my life, there has never been a time where I felt like I completely belong somewhere. There has always been this teeny tiny voice inside of my head telling me, whoever I'm with, whatever I'm doing, I will always be an outsider, the strange one. I wrote pages on pages in my journal about how sad I was feeling. I hold on to people thinking they would get rid of my internal emptiness. I even thought about traveling the world because, out there you would find the happiness. I moved to the biggest city in Germany, Berlin. I was surrounded by people and still I couldn't fill this internal void. Now I'm here today filming this video, hoping it can bring a new perspective to your life about loneliness. The feeling of loneliness is often confused with being alone. Being alone is amazing. It's one of the most peaceful moments for me as a part-time introvert. However, feeling lonely is something completely different. Loneliness is something you cannot get rid of. It kind of haunts you, and simply put, the feeling hurts. A discovery I made is that we are all addicted to independence. While thousands of years ago, the only way to be able to survive was in a group, in modern age, it seems like we are perfectly able to survive on our own. We don't necessarily need other people, and this is where the problem begins. As human beings, we strive for connection. We are a social species, and yet to me, loneliness is not something that we can just expect other people to fill for us. I feel like we get so lost in searching for love sometimes that we don't realize that it's us who put up walls in front of our hearts and in front of our internal world. Maybe we had some unpleasant experiences in the past based on which we don't allow intimacy today. That is totally okay, and I think a lot of people might resonate with that. However, we have to ask ourselves the question for how long we want to go on like this. I found a quote by Rupi Kaur that says, "Loneliness is the sign that you are in desperate need of yourself." And I felt that. Normally what I would do to cover up my internal darkness was social media or food. Social media gives us the quick shot of connectedness. However, a screen time of 10 hours is not necessarily the perfect recipe to feeling connected and happy within yourself. Food helps me personally also escape into a different world, and strangely, in a very absurd way, sugar is also giving me this little shot of love. However, I wanted to find different ways in which I could find my internal happiness and deal with this inner wound in a way that I wasn't destroying myself or my body. And one of the ways I found that helped the most for me was to do something that genuinely excites me and that genuinely gets me out of bed in the morning and that I just love doing. I know there's a whole debate on the topic of having a purpose and finding this one single thing that helps you do your 5 a.m. morning routine and that you are initially here to do. I had to admit at one point in my life that I would probably never find this purpose. The only compass I have in life is my intuition and my feelings, and sometimes my own head got in the way. It got so loud up here that I couldn't even listen to what I actually wanted to do. What I personally love doing is dancing, teaching classes, and actually also being creative. When I was a little child, I always dreamt of being an actress. I dreamt of being an author, and I actually started filming YouTube videos pretty early on. I think I was like 12. I never uploaded them though, which, I mean, you can argue that that was probably a good decision because it would have been extremely embarrassing. However, the reason behind it is actually quite sad, because I thought that people would judge me so much for it and I would receive so much hate for it, that this feeling kept me from doing a lot of things that I actually loved doing and wanted to do in my life. I was so afraid of ending up alone that I didn't move at all. And you know, I already felt lonely, so what was I even afraid of? Which actually brings me to the next point, seeing the gifts behind the loneliness. I would have never made this video if I wasn't an emotional wreck. If I was mentally stable. No, I'm just kidding. I would have never made this video if I felt connected and happy with myself, which in a quite contradicting way makes me realize that these problems we have are actually a foundation for relationships with other people. I feel like we connect better over pain sometimes than over happiness, and that is something we should just accept and not judge, because it's totally okay. We tend to hold on to problems because subconsciously they give us something back. There is a gift behind it, even though you might not even see it. So I would invite you to ask yourself, what do you feel? What do you do? What do you think about when you feel lonely? Does it give you some kind of time for yourself that you would normally not take? Does it help you set boundaries? Do you have an excuse to not deal with other people? On a positive side, does it give you some kind of drive in life? Does it help you discover your internal world? Does it help you reflect on things? All these things can help us to basically not get rid of the loneliness, and maybe that's not even the goal. And the third, one of the most important things I discovered in the journey to being okay with my loneliness, is owning parts of myself that I have put into boxes thinking they are shameful or bad. I read a lot of books, or let's say I bought a lot of books, some of which I read, and they were all about the topic of shadow work. Shadow work is a concept rooted on the thought of dealing with parts of ourselves that we have rejected or denied. So basically, everything we think is bad about ourselves and we do not want other people to see. And this can be negative parts or positive ones. Even something like happiness can be a shadow part, because maybe as a kid you were always overly excited, you were so happy to see people and you were laughing all the time, and then someone came up to you and was like, well, you're extremely annoying. And nowadays you think that being happy is a bad thing because other people think you're annoying. So this can also be a shadow part. What shadow work did to me is that, or it still does to this day actually, is that it helps me reconnect with myself and accept myself way more than I did before. You might ask yourself, what has shadow work to do with loneliness? It's basically like there is a huge puzzle inside of your body, right? You have this picture that is you, but there are parts of the puzzle that are just missing because you put it away into a very, very dark place inside that you don't see anymore. So you look at this picture and it's fragmented. So you feel like there's something missing. You feel like you're extremely disconnected from yourself, and that shows itself in the feeling of loneliness. I want to end this video by saying you are not alone. And I know this is such an overused sentence, but maybe for a very good reason. There are so many people out there who feel the same exact way that you are feeling. And even if there weren't, your feelings would still be completely valid and okay. Maybe this internal wound we have will never heal. Maybe it's not even supposed to, because it just teaches us so much. And I think the best way is to learn to live with it and see the gifts and see how it actually motivates you in life and how it helps you to connect with yourself and to get to know yourself a little better. I want to share another quote with you I found on Goodreads actually. And it says, "What should young people do with their lives today? many things, obviously, but the most daring thing is to create stable communities in which the terrible disease of loneliness can be cured. So our biggest strength is our vulnerability, and maybe we can turn it into something more beautiful. Thank you so much for watching this video and taking the time to listen to my words. I hope I see you next time again, and I really appreciate you.